If you build it, they will come. Yeah, right. Fellow coders, if you're full of amazing ideas and have created amazing products but can't seem to get them off the ground, welcome. This is the Coders Startup, the show where smart programmers come to learn what it really takes to create, market, and sell a brand new product, and most of all, make it profitable. Now here's your host, successful software entrepreneur, Trevor Page.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to episode number 3 of this Coders Startup podcast. As always, I'll be your host, Trevor Page, and I'm, as always, joined by my right-hand man, Carter Johnson. How's it going, buddy?
How's it going, man? Excited to be here.
Good stuff. So, in this show, I should say in the last show, we talked a little bit about, what the heck did we talk about in the last show? We talked about email lists, and we talked about...
Great content.
Building
we
an
were
audience.
Talking just about value-driven content and the importance of that.
That's right. So I guess the next logical step, I mean, we're talking about this stuff from a very high level. This could take years, if not, decades to master all of these techniques and whatnot. But, it's really important for you guys. You're coming from a space where you have no clue on how to market, because that's where I was. I had no clue on anything with respect to this marketing stuff. So I just want to be able to dump all this information on you guys, have both of us rather dump this information on you guys. And so then you can sort of have the high-level overview of what's going on, and then we can really start diving into the nitty-gritty of each of these aspects of selling. So today I think we're going to be talking about how to make the sale, how to take your list. Let's say you've built up a list of people. Like I said, this takes a while to get to that point, but let's say you have this list of people, and how do you take them from, people who are interested in your stuff and who are fans of your stuff to people who are actually taking their hard-earned dollars and putting it into your wallet. So yeah, this is a great topic for Carter and even for myself, because this is what I've been doing for the past 2 years of my life. So let's dive into it. Where do you want to start, Carter?
Absolutely. One of the things I think maybe where we should just kick things off is just the importance of making that first dollar. I hear so many people talk about, they struggle and then they hit that first dollar and things start to click. And it's almost like, I don't know if it's something in our heads or what it is, but it's like when we finally make our first dollar from either doing some sort of online sales or our own services or through our own product, it's like the universe just kind of starts to turn and is like, oh man, you can actually do this, Yeah,
it is possible.
So yeah, let's talk about this. We were talking about it earlier. Trying to think of the first time we made our own dollar on our own. Yeah. And for me, I can't remember, just because I've been kind of side hustling it since an early age.
Really since birth is how long Carter's been doing this for. I'm trying to remember my own. Like, I think my own first dollar online, it probably came from AdSense, which is if you're not familiar with it, it's the advertisements that you can put on a website, and if anyone clicks on that advertisement, you get some of that cash. So I probably had put AdSense ads on my blog, and AdSense is through Google if you weren't already familiar with it, and that's probably where it came from. I just probably someone clicked on the ad, and I probably made 25 cents or something like that, and I can't remember. I think it probably was an interesting occasion, because I probably refreshed my Google AdSense account, once every hour or something like that to see what was going on. And, I probably went from 0 to 25 cents or maybe even 10 cents. And I was like, okay, cool. I think for me, it was more like, okay, the code is working. It wasn't, oh my God, I just made money. It was, okay, everything's set up properly and I can breathe a sigh of relief.
I remember hearing Pat Flynn's story, and I think he made some educational study guide or something like that, and he was at work or something, but I remember him talking about how he uploaded it, set up the shopping cart, everything else. It went live, emailed it out to a list, or
I don't even think he did email it out. Yeah, it was just on his website.
Was it on his website?
He just put it up on his website.
I remember the first the sales he got though. He was like, holy cow, people are actually buying this. Yeah. Totally just kind of in shell shock.
I think he killed it that day too. I mean, he went from making no money online to publishing this guide, which was just an ebook, and I think in the first day he made something like $200 or $300 worth of sales.
Yeah,
so I mean, it was just
that's crazy.
That's just crazy. I don't want you guys to think that that's possible. Clearly it is possible,
No, it's
but
possible.
I don't want you guys to think that that's typical. Because yes, making $300 a day by just uploading something to your blog is definitely not a typical result. The results definitely may vary there, but
Definitely. So yeah, I mean, I think, lesson learned from the first dollar. Go out there and, if anything, just show yourself that it's possible. Whether it's through a simple AdSense ad, or selling a 99 cents ebook, or having some sort of even contact me now for consulting services. Just figure out how to make that first dollar if that's a struggle point for you. If you are completely like, what are these guys talking about? This is ridiculous. Then by all means, pass up this lesson and just go right for everything. But there are some people out there who need to prove it to their own self that it is possible. So.
Yeah, and I mean, it's for me, I was one of those people who I knew I could sell something online. I'm not a salesman. I have just a plain old engineering programming background. But I mean, I've been around the block a few times, and I know this thing called the internet and how big it is. So I think just with law of what the heck is the law anyway? Which is the sheer amount of people out there using the internets. You're bound to get someone to buy some stuff from you. Like it's almost an inevitability that will happen.
Go on Craigslist. Put something up on Craigslist. Like it's one of those things. If you need validation, go for it. I remember, I think this was like a year ago, whenever you were getting recruited by Google, Trevor, I remember us talking and this relates to the subject a little bit. I couldn't process. I know how to sell things and like generate my own side hustle, but we were talking about like actual jobs and careers, and I was like, I have no idea how you would do that. Like, I have no idea. So for me, I understand how some concepts can be so far out there, because if you told me I had to go get a job tomorrow, I would be completely lost and overwhelmed and not sure where to even begin. I think I'd just probably start calling people, asking them how they do it. But
yeah. Well, there you go. That's the entrepreneur in you. You just reach out for people and ask other experts how to do something in
I guess so.
a field that they know about. Yeah. All right. So let's talk about. So I mean, how would you get? Let's say you've created a product. Now that's not something that I just say that off the cuff. Okay, you created a product. There's definitely work that goes into creating a product. But even then, I'm going to sidetrack myself here. I wrote and published my first ebook from zero to published in about 2.5 or 3 months. And that was working part-time. So I was working full-time as a software engineer doing Java programming. And I had this idea for a blog where I would teach programming. And I just published articles to my blog. So I was just publishing free content. And then I took that free content and revamped it into an ebook. So I just literally copy-pasted into a Word document, a Microsoft Word document, did a little bit of formatting, and then added a bit of unique content, so content that wasn't free, that was just going to be inside the ebook. And then I hired someone to create the actual cover for the book. And I think I had done that either through Fiverr.com, which is a marketplace where you can buy people's services for like $5. So it's Fiverr, Fiverr.com. And I think that's where I did it. And I just found someone who did ebook designs, and I got them to do the ebook cover. And then I published it on Amazon. So you can publish it on Amazon actually very easily. You just go to, I think it's called Kindle Direct Publishing, and went there, signed up for an account. I mean, it's not rocket science to do this stuff, and uploaded the book, and I was making sales. I mean, I had to do no marketing whatsoever, and I easily made. At the peak, I was getting like $1,000 a month from book sales, which again is not typical of your first book. I got lucky there, but it was so
I think
easy.
Also you have a great book out there. I see so many people who crush it with ebooks, and I look at the books that they're selling, and it's like a 45-page guide or whatever. Yours is a very resourceful book.
Yeah,
How many
mine's-
pages is it?
It's fairly meaty, I guess. In Kindle format, it's well over 400 pages, I think.
Yeah. So you're selling textbooks when everybody else is selling pamphlets.
That's right. Yeah. But in any case, so just to sort of demystify this process to create a product, it's not really that difficult. I just took my own text that I'd already written on a blog that technically other people had edited for me, because they would say, oh, Trevor, actually that's not true what you just said, and I would say, oh, really? And then I would go and fix it up. Or someone would say, oh, there's a typo here or a typo there. So it's almost like I had editors for free for people on the internet, and then I just copy pasted it into Word, did some basic formatting, and threw it up on Amazon. So
Totally.
yeah, it wasn't too difficult.
I think that's a great segue too into kind of how to get your first handful of clients, or customers, whether it's 5, 10, maybe a dozen, whatever that first small amount is. I mean, you hit on something that's so valuable, especially for anyone getting started on their own, and that's to utilize the traffic of another platform.
Right.
We talked a little bit about that with the list generating, but you can also do it directly through sales. So Amazon is an example, whether you're selling actual products or an ebook, or I mean, people even sell software and stuff on there.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Udemy is another example. A lot of traffic there. A lot of people doing stuff on there.
Yeah, if you guys never heard of Udemy, you probably have, but it's udemy.com, and it's just it's a marketplace for knowledge. You can go there. It's like a university type.
Did we talk about it last episode? We may have.
I can't even remember. I have a terrible memory. So, but yeah, I've actually gone through the process of signing up as a teacher there, and started uploading content. And again, it's not rocket science. They make it easy on purpose to be able to publish content. It's not that difficult. So don't get all up on your head about creating products and how difficult it could be, or that people may or may not hate it. Because I guarantee you, there are going to be people out there that do not like your stuff. Like I said, I spent 3 months on my ebook, which was, for me, it was a lot of time. I spent all my spare time on this ebook, so it did equate to a fair number of hours worked, and I did put a whole bunch of myself into it, and it's really great content. But even then, I have people on Amazon who still will leave a 1-star review saying, why are you buying this stuff? You can easily get it for free through YouTube or something. So, I mean, it doesn't matter what you do. There's always going to be haters. So the trick there is just to ignore those people.
A funny side story. One of my buddies who's really successful has had multiple businesses. He's sold multiple businesses. One of his first businesses was a magic shop. He actually would just create these magic tricks and sell them online. And he landed a really lucrative deal from one of the bigger hobby stores. But one of I remember looking at his stuff, and I was reading all these reviews, and I was just cracking on him and giving him a hard time and all. And then I also went and saw that you could actually buy his or not buy his magic tricks, but download them via torrent. So just steal them.
Oh
from
no.
him. And he had the best response, because I was giving him a hard time about this, and he was like, hey, you've made something when you have people who are bashing it and people who are trying to steal it.
That's true. That's a good way to measure your success.
Yeah, totally. So don't worry when you get people who are giving you a hard time. A lot of times those are just haters who are on the sideline, kind of mad that they haven't jumped in their own game. But definitely, listen to them. Take the constructive feedback. Make whatever you're creating even better. A lot of times those are golden nuggets, and you want to really listen to what the constructive criticism that people are shelling out to you.
Yeah, an example of that, I just created a databases and SQL course that I launched, and I had one of my students in there reach out to me and say, Trevor, awesome content. You are an absolutely amazing teacher. Great stuff. One piece of advice, and I knew it was coming. Like, whenever you get these emails where people are like, stroking your ego, they're either going to ask for a favor or they're going to give you some sort of advice. So he said one piece of advice. If you could deliver the same content, but just at 90 or 85% of the speed. And I was like, okay, that's perfectly fine, because I often get excited, and obviously the more excited I get about teaching something, I talk fast and and then all of a sudden, I'm losing my students. So it's awesome feedback. I don't take that as, hey Trevor, even if he had just said, even if he hadn't, stroked my ego and just said, hey Trevor, could you slow it down a bit? I wouldn't take that as negative feedback. That is golden feedback, just like you mentioned. That is your customer base saying that you need to do something that probably applies to more than just that one person. If one person is saying it to you, probably 100 people are thinking it as well. So, and that rule can be applied to the actual good reviews. Oftentimes, if someone likes your book, they won't actually spend the time and take the time out of their day to give you a good review of the book. Whereas if someone disliked your book, it's more of an incentive for them to express their dislike of your book. So if it's almost like you get this disproportionate amount of people, in terms of how I feel, saying that they don't like your stuff versus people saying that they do, because it is so much easier to just complain about something than to give someone praise. So keep that in mind as well. If you do end up putting something out and people are shooting it down, don't take it fully to heart. And like you said, look for the constructive criticism behind what it is that they're saying.
Absolutely. So let's steer this back to what initially we got on, which is how are we going to land these first dozen customers? And we talked a little bit about kind of utilizing the traffic of these bigger platforms. What are some other ways, Trevor, that you've generated your first handful of clients?
Yeah, so I mean, I've heard, I can't even remember how I generated my first, like if I'm talking about my first actual sales of software or something. I know I've definitely reached out to my own circle of friends. So like, let's say I will have a problem that I feel I need to solve for myself. That's where a lot of my products have come from. So for example, I've published iPhone apps around. I published an app called I'm Nearby, which is not available anymore, so it's definitely not a plug for my own software. But it was called I'm Nearby, and it was a location, like a geofencing location-based app that would send a text message to whoever you like based on your location. So it would be if you are,
cool.
Coming towards a certain location within a X number of kilometer or mile radius, you could send a text message. So it could be like, I'm almost home, and you would send that to your partner or whatever. Or if you're leaving the area, you could send a message. So you could say, I'm leaving work or something, and it would just do it automatically for you, and you wouldn't have to worry about it. My first sales of that app came from my friends and family and my coworkers. I blasted out emails to all those people saying, if you have an iPhone, go buy my app. Like, just do it. It's great. Yeah. I know it's great because I made it, so you need it. So definitely, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say, again, your inner circle is so valuable, and that's an area that I've never been good at tapping into, but I see it done repeatedly, and I mean, I know anytime any of my friends or anything, as soon as they bring something to market, I'm one of the first people to purchase it and leave a good review and give them my feedback. So yeah, your inner circle, definitely look for people who can utilize it. I think another thing, and you hit on this, one of the great ways, if you're developing something that's going to be a plugin or an app or something like that, go to the forums, go to the communities where these users hang out, and talk to them about the problem you're solving. Let them know what you're working on. Tell them what stage in the development process you're at, and really see if you can just get a few initial beta users, because you're going to need that feedback. You're going to need to make sure things are working. You're going to need to make sure that whatever solution you're providing is actually of value. So definitely look at those communities and those forums and stuff for early adapters for whatever you're pushing out there.
Yeah, and I mean, this probably I didn't even realize that I haven't talked about this yet, and this is probably one of the most important lessons that I've learned in business. Is I spent, I don't know how many, I think I spent 4 or 5 years of my life total, 4 or 5 years of my life, building and selling a product that only got me one customer. in the end. I think it was 5 years of my life. And I built this thing out. And anyway, I don't want you guys to make that same mistake. Spending even a year building a product, in my opinion, is too long. Okay.
Oh yeah.
What you really the core lesson that I learned is, if you can, talk to people even before you build a product. Talk to people before you write the book, or before
Absolutely.
you launch the video tutorials course, or whatever it is that you're going to build. Talk to people first, and make sure that you're also talking to the people that would be interested in purchasing your product. Okay, so if I'm writing a product about databases and SQL, I'm not going to go to my best friend and say, hey, would you be interested in buying this? Because he does not have the slightest inclination of wanting to learn anything with her. So he would be the terribly wrong person to approach. You need to approach the people who would want to learn that stuff. I don't even know how you would go about finding those people. I'm sure there's good ways. Maybe you can do meetups. I'm sure there's meetups, so you can do, meetme.something.com or .so or something. Anyway, you can there's certainly groups that you can join up and actually meet in person and talk with these people, maybe that relate to something in your niche that you want to sort of position yourself in. But yes, talk to them first, get their feedback first, and never make the mistake of assuming that just because someone says they would be interested in purchasing the software or the product, that they will actually purchase the software or the product. That is another lesson I have learned. If someone says, "Oh, absolutely, I'd pay $50, $100, $500 for that," that does not mean that they will. You need to ask them for the money up front. If you can say, "Tell you what, I'm going to build this thing. I have a lot of people that are interested in it. If you give me $50 up front, maybe the product is going to cost $500, but I'm going to sell it to you for $50. If you give me $50 of your hard-earned money right now up front before the product is built, and I can get at least 10 customers, then I will go out and build this product. If I don't get those 10 customers to give me the $50 up front, I will refund you every single dollar that you gave to me." So that is a very a risk-adverse way of approaching product development, and I'm sure you have lots of opinions on this, Carter.
Yeah, absolutely. I was going to jump in and say that's a really common concept that you and I see a lot with the entrepreneurs that we interact with, and it's called pre-selling. And basically, you're just getting whatever it is that you're bringing to market, you get it out there, and you really get actual sales before it's created. And a lot of people, when they hear about this, they immediately think, "Oh, I can't do that. That's unethical. You don't do things that way." You even see some people that have been in business a while or who are quote unquote business savvy hesitate with this. But let me ask you, when Donald Trump builds a skyscraper, does he wait until it's completely done to sell the spaces? Absolutely not.
I'm guessing no.
Absolutely not. When a lot of these high-end car manufacturers, when they're coming out with the latest and greatest model for the year, a lot of that's pre-sold. You look at the trends of what a lot of successful businesses do, and in some form or another, they are pre-selling a product before it's on the market. And I'm not saying go out and pre-sell something that you're going to have to you're going to collect all the money and then actually utilize the money that those potential customers gave you to develop the whole thing, and it only gets you 5% of the way. Don't do that by any means, but go out there and pre-sell. Make sure that people are actually putting their money where their mouth is. One of the great things that have really became popular, and this span from the Fair Jobs Act or whatever that was in the States, is actually the crowdfunding sources, where you can go out there and put a product idea on the marketplace and see what people say about it. A lot of people fund entire businesses, and we're talking 7-figure businesses, big time businesses, just by crowdfunding whatever it is they're trying to develop.
Now, when you say crowdfunding, do you mean apps or programs like Kickstarter and Indiegogo?
Kickstarter, Indiegogo, crowdsource, and I mean now, the beautiful. I think, and this is a whole nother episode, but we should definitely talk about why. I can give my whole theory of why I think we are in the absolute best age for entrepreneurship.
Totally.
And this is one of the reasons. It's just because funding sources have become so readily available, and funding, we can talk about that a whole nother day, but I'm speaking more about using these platforms as a way to just validate your idea and generate those first initial sales. You can go on there with wireframes or product renderings.
To sum this up,
Yeah.
I think what you're really trying to say is that, ladies and gentlemen listening to this right now, there is no excuse.
No excuse.
No excuse for you to not get out there and sell something, because like Carter said, this is the best. This is the golden age of the entrepreneur. This is the golden age of selling your stuff to someone else. Anyway, keep going. I don't want to interrupt you again.
Well, and that was basically it. I mean, just summing it all up. A great quote that comes to mind right now. It's one of my personal favorites. I have it hanging up in my office. It's by Thomas J. Watson, and he said, "Would you like me to give you a formula for success? It's quite simple. Really double your rate of failure."
Nice. God, we can do a whole episode on failure as well. But yeah, awesome quote. I love it.
So go out there and get kicked in the stomach, sell a few products, fall on your face, but just keep getting back up, because you'll eventually get there. So
yeah. Now, I mean, there's plenty of other. I mean, I don't want to just wrap it up just yet. We still have.
No.
Yeah.
I'm trying not to get too far out.
Yeah.
I'm trying to stick with the main overall topic that we want to talk about.
So I mean, what else? I mean, you guys might be wondering. Well, okay, so I'm sold on selling. I know that I should get out there. I know that I should start selling something and creating something, and I know that it's possible. I'm putting those words in your mouth for you. But one thing they may ask, or that you may ask, is, well, how the heck do I actually accept money online? Now, that's something that I don't want to talk about just yet. We're going to be hitting on that. I just want to seed this by saying there are apps out there. There's pieces of software that you can use that make this dead simple. Okay, especially for you guys having a programming background, guys, it's so easy. There's no reason to be scared of this stuff. I was at first. I was scared about SSL certificates and security and all this stuff and processing credit card payments, and oh my god, like, trust me, there's apps out there that you can use that are free to use. And I say free, they charge you a transaction fee of like 2% for every sale you make. But that is pennies for what it is, the service that you're getting back from them. So don't worry about that. I will definitely get into more detail about how to sell stuff, the physical way and the tactical ways to sell stuff. But for now, let's talk about the strategies and keep going down the rabbit hole that we've been pursuing. So take her away.
I was going to chime in just real quick. Something that we should probably talk about is something that I see so many new entrepreneurs struggle with, and that's the fear that someone's going to steal their idea.
Nice.
We talked about generating your first 2 customers, and I guarantee you there was a few people who were like, well, what if it's not completely ready, and they go out and build it on their own. And I mean, it's one of those things I worried about early on. I used to always think about it. I used to I remember, I would, every time I had an idea or wanted to talk to somebody about it, I'd wonder if I should get a NDA, which is a non-disclosure agreement, just so they can't talk about it. And it really, it's just comical when I look back at that. And it's one of those things. I mean, you hear now, like, a lot of the most respected businessmen and women, and just icons out there, they literally will not talk to people who even insist or ask if they should sign an NDA, because it's almost just an insult at a higher level as far as business goes. Because the truth of the matter is, and Trevor, feel free to chime in whenever, but
I will.
You could have a perfect idea. We're talking an amazing idea, detailed out to a dime as far as how to execute, and if you gave that even to the a company that had all the resources to execute, it is very, very unlikely that they would even bother reading through the entire thing. If you want to see how hard it is for somebody to steal your idea, seriously, reach out to whoever you think your competition is and send them a message telling them you have a great idea that's going to change their entire business. And it's comical how hard it is just to get somebody to pay attention to you as far as that idea goes.
Yeah.
So
there are a dime a dozen ideas, and the term that I used before when Carter and I were preparing for this episode, the saying that I said is, nobody gives a crap about your idea. You do not have a $1 billion idea. You do not have the next Facebook. You do not have the next Twitter. You are not that good. And it sounds horrible to say it, and it sounds like I'm being demeaning and mean, but it's sadly true. Because the chances that you do have the next Facebook idea or the next Twitter or the next what have you are so astronomically small that it's just not possible. I learned now that once you get into the rhythm of entrepreneurship and you start to create an audience and a following, like I've done, you start to get people that approach you with ideas. And it's just that. I mean, I'm nice. I listen to them and I say, okay, sure, tell me your idea. And a lot of them are things like, oh, I would really like to go, half and half on you on, translating your book. I'd love to, I speak this other language and I can translate it and do it. And I mean, that's a great idea. But the truth of the matter is, even if they did all of the work for me, I probably still wouldn't do it because I'm too busy to oversee it, and I would have no idea what the end result would look like, and it's just not somewhere that I want to be positioned right now, because what happens if I get a customer who speaks Portuguese or something who tries to reach out to me to get a refund? Okay, I can't speak that language, so how am I going to support these people? So even if you have not even like an off-the-wall or amazing, unique idea, even if it's a very practical idea, it's still so difficult to get that idea executed and to actually make it work in your business, in the flow of your business, in your business model. You have the passion behind it. Oh, yeah. You know what I mean? Oh, yeah. And like I could almost say to them, okay, go ahead and just do it yourself. You can translate the book, and you just, you do everything, and you do the support and whatever, and tell you what, I'll take like 10% of the sales and you take 90% because I don't have time to worry about that. And that's usually the case for all these people in the world. Everyone is busy in their own business and no one has the time to care about your idea unless
steal your idea.
Unless you can prove that your idea works. And what I mean by prove is you have X number of customers who have already paid money to you, and you already have maybe a recurring revenue business that makes net profit, above zero in the black, and so on and so forth. Then you have something that might be worth talking about. But I mean, once you hit that point, if you still have the passion, you wouldn't want to share that idea with anyone. You wouldn't want to do it. You would want to keep it to yourself and keep going with it and what have you. But I mean, the long story short is no one cares. No one cares about your idea. So don't stop yourself from developing a product and talking about it and pre-selling it just because you think that someone else might steal your idea, because they won't.
And I want to go back on one of the things you said, Trevor.
Okay, sure. Go ahead.
I know Trevor is so much more a realist, and I'll bring something to Trevor, and I'll be like, yeah, we can crank this out in 3 weeks. And Trevor's like, this will take at least 4 months. Like, very, very level-headed. It could be that somebody who is going to invent the next Twitter or Facebook or something is listening to this. But I think, one of the things that Trevor hit on, the people, like you look at those big time, like WhatsApp just got purchased for some astronomical amount. You look at those people and they have failed multiple times with previous businesses.
Yeah, they have a track record.
So it wasn't their first go. And I think that's what Trevor was getting at more than anything. Just that, I'm definitely more of a dreamer than a lot of people, and I definitely shoot for the stars. And if you do, that's great too. But just know that it takes a lot more than just dreaming to execute that, and you can share whatever it is that you're working on, and usually it'll result in better feedback and actual product sales versus somebody stealing your idea. That's what we're getting at.
There's far more positives than negatives for sharing your idea before it is even
Totally.
a product. So yeah. All right.
Totally.
So where do you want to go from here? We can talk about other things like when you're making the sales, to make the sales a little bit easier. Have you talked much about risk reversal yet? You want to step into that?
Yeah, let's kind of get into the whole topic of copywriting
Okay,
in general.
sure. Let's do that.
So one of the things that's really important when you're starting off is to start to understand copywriting. And if you've never heard of copywriting, that's all right. Most people haven't. Just do a quick Google search. Look up what copywriting is, and basically, what that is the word usage and how you piece together everything that's related to what you're selling.
That's copywriting with a W, not an R. We're not talking about publishing rights and all that stuff. This is the art of selling is what he's talking about. But continue.
Yeah, absolutely. So copywriting in itself is one of those things where we could spend this. I mean, there's probably podcasts out there that only focus on copywriting. It's such a big topic, and there are people out there who make astronomical amounts of money just from being professional copywriters. You can do yourself a really good favor, though, if you do learn the basics of copywriting, because you're going to need it not just when you're writing out sales letters via your email or laying out your web page and constructing it there, but also when you're interacting on a daily basis with people. I mean, I consider that copywriting when I'm talking about my product or whatever it is. That's a form of copywriting, I guess.
Absolutely, because you're trying to sell yourself or you're trying to sell your product. So you have to use language and put language together in such a way that you'll convince people to buy your stuff. I mean, that's what copywriting is all about, convincing people to give you money. It's essentially what it's all about.
That is. Let's give them a few good resources because, again, I think this podcast in itself is a great resource, but if this subject interests you, there's definitely some resources you want to check out.
Yeah, there was. I just listened yesterday or the day before yesterday to a podcast. It was Amy Porterfield's podcast.
Okay.
And it was episode, I think it was 33. Yes. Okay, so let me see if there's an easy link here. No, it's not an easy link. Bad, Amy Porterfield. So you can go to amyporterfield.com. We'll put this in the show notes, and go to her episode number 33 of her podcast, and it's entitled "How to Write Copy That Sells" with Ray Edwards. And I really, really enjoyed that podcast. Ray Edwards has like this very soothing voice. It's almost like a Carter voice, but it's just like, but it's not soothing in the sense that it will put you to sleep. You just want to listen to this guy all day. So yeah, just like Carter. So he outlines a lot of amazing tips and strategies for good copywriting techniques. And I would just highly recommend that you listen to it. Do you have any of those resources as well?
Oh yeah.
Okay, go for
it. I got a few off the top of my head. I'm a huge fan of Dan Kennedy. I know a lot of people like Dan Kennedy, but I'm definitely a huge fan of him. I really like what Mindvalley, the company Mindvalley, they have a copywriting guide. I would just Google Mindvalley copywriting guide, and I thought he was one of the most clear and precise copywriting guides that I came across. So huge fans of both of those. Who wrote the
Book of Love?
What's that?
Who wrote the Book of Love?
The Book of Love? I've never even heard of the Book of Love.
Oh, come on. You just ruined my joke completely. Hopefully there's some people out there who are laughing right now. Anyway, continue. Who wrote what?
No, is it Karl Marx? Is that? I don't know.
Karl Marx? Are you talking about Marxism right now?
I'm gonna try to look it up.
Yeah, go
quick.
for it. This is unedited podcasting at its best, ladies and gentlemen. So I'll let Carter look that up. And in the meantime, what I'll say is
Gary Halbert.
He's
another great. Yeah, he's another great one that comes to mind.
Halbert. I'm writing all these down so I can put them in the show notes.
Okay.
So does he have? What about him interests you? Is it just he's just a good copywriter?
He's just a legend.
He's just a legend. Okay, well there you go. That says enough. But I know we can give. So I mean, we talked a little bit about some places they can go to read up on this stuff. But I know one technique that I hear about with respect to copywriting over and over again that you guys should focus on is all about the art of selling by telling stories. And storytelling is so extremely important when it comes to selling, because stories are what people remember. And there is no better illustration of this than in a book I picked up a while back. It's called Made to Stick. And in this book, I think it's in the first couple chapters, it might have even been in the first chapter, they go through and they have this, you can't even call it a story. It was this this piece, I guess you can call it, on, I don't even remember what it was, the stock market, or this piece about something to do with health, maybe surgery. I don't even remember, but they give you that piece of information, and then directly after it, I think it had something to do with health and surgery, because the story afterwards wasn't actually a story. They told the story about, the bathtub, like you wake up in a bathtub full of ice and your back hurts, and then you reach down and realize that you're missing a kidney. And have you heard this story before?
Yeah.
So they tell that story in detail, and they give names and they give places and times, all this stuff in this story. And then afterwards, after they finish that, the author says, "Okay, stop. Now tell me what it was that I just told you about in the first piece where I talked about whatever it was, surgery or health or whatever." And you sit there and you're like, I just read this. Like, both pieces weren't that long. I read this no more than 5 minutes ago, and I can't remember a single thing from what I read. And then he says, "Okay, now tell me what you remember from the second thing I said, which was this story." And you can recount this thing in vivid detail. You can recount the times, the places, the people, the scenery. You could have every detail and it's clinging in your memory. And that's the power of storytelling. And you want to be able to harness that power of storytelling when you're actually trying to sell something, because that's what the people are going to remember. If you could tell a good story that relates to your product, it'll be sticky. And that's why the book is called Made to Stick. And then, because it usually takes a few times before you actually make the sale. There's a few touch points. You have to talk to someone or make contact with them, 6 or 7 times before they actually convert into a sale. Is that right?
It's something like that. It's I know it doesn't happen usually on the first go, but yeah, I mean, storytelling, it's so, and we're not talking about writing out nursery rhymes and stuff like that. There's a lot of different ways you can go about doing it, and again, you're going to want to find your own style. But more than anything, it's just when you're communicating how this product came to be, how it solves the problems that your customer experiences, you wanna somehow make that flow through a story, because again, they're going to be able to remember it. It's going to heighten their senses as far as everything goes. Yeah, I mean, I think you summed it up great just with that example from Made to Stick.
Mm-hmm. So that's one piece of advice that I can give you guys from my very limited experience with copywriting. That's probably one of the biggest takeaways that I could use and have used is remembering to write in the form of stories. And I mean, I do this all the time. It's not just when you're selling something. It's recommended to do this in all of your contacts and all the touch points with your customers, whether it's an email about some free content that you're putting out. Talk a little bit about yourself, tell a story, because that's all about human connection. That's how we connect to people and we build trust between people, is when we can, hear stories from them and we can relate to those people. Because like I said probably in the last episode, people buy things from other people that they know, like, and trust. If you can have that trinity, that beautiful 3-pronged attack to get people to know, like, and trust you, your chances of sales skyrocket. So definitely some
Absolutely.
good tips.
And that Mind Valley guide that I mentioned, they do a great job of incorporating just how you can utilize storytelling and the perspective that you can come in with. And that's a great resource, great starting resource.
For sure. All right, so now do you want to move on to some risk reversal stuff?
Yeah, that's definitely an important aspect of copywriting. And if you ever come across something, especially in the long form, and that's when you see those web pages that it feels like forever, you just keep on scrolling and scrolling. Risk reversal is extremely popular, but you'll see risk reversal everywhere in marketing. You turn on the television and you see those offers on TV, and you get to try something for $1 for the first 30 days, or no risk, you only pay shipping, and we bill you after 60 days. Those types of things. So what risk reversal is, and this is something that you want to keep in mind when you're talking to these first customers, figure out what it is that's keeping them from pulling the trigger. So maybe it's that the cost, they don't believe it outweighs whatever benefit you're providing. Maybe they're worried that whatever you built's gonna break. Maybe, whatever it is, find out what it is that's really keeping them from completing the transaction, and find a way to completely take that off the table. So, for instance, if there was a product that I knew, or that you were marketing to me, and it was supposed to add 5 hours to my week for free time. I don't know what this product is. I wish somebody would make it, but I'm getting five hours more every week.
Yeah.
And it just sounds too good to be true. So right now, I'm not going to give you $200 a month or whatever you're going to charge me for until I know for a fact that this thing's really going to produce. So a good way to get me to try this is give it to me for $1 the first month, and make sure that I like it and that it's actually delivering. And once I see that I'm getting 5 hours a week, 20 hours a month, man, I am going to be begging you to take my $197 at the end of that 30 days. So again, you see a lot of different free trials, guarantees, $1 trials. What are some other risk reversals you've seen, Trevor?
Well, actually, I use a special kind of guarantee. From one of my products, I guarantee it at, I think it's 110%. So I go the extra mile and say, look, I'm so convinced that you're going to like this, that if you don't like it for any reason, I don't care what the reason is, you can just contact me and say, look, I want my money back, but not just that, I want my money back plus 10%, and I will pay you the additional 10%. And I can tell you that in the 2 years I've been selling that product, not a single person has asked for that to happen. One person asked for a full refund, but that was for reasons that were outside of their control. But they just said, you know what, I know you have a 110% guarantee, but I know that your product is good. I just can't use it right now, so can I just get my money back, and we'll call it even. So, I mean, that really, the money that you're going to lose from offering that kind of guarantee is going to pale in comparison to the money that you're going to gain from the people who see it and who are on the fence on buying your product and get pushed over the fence to buy your product because they see that you're so confident in your product. So that's a really good type of guarantee.
It's crazy when and you'll see a lot of people doing this, and I mean it's one of those things where they'll offer double your money back or 150% back or whatever it is, and the reason is because there is a clear-cut difference in the amount of sales generated when you offer that type of guarantee. And if you're cash-strapped and you're worried and it's gonna make you lose sleep at night, don't do it. It's not worth that.
True.
But as soon as you get into any type of point where basically you calculate it out, and out of every 10 sales, if you had just an insane return rate of 10%, you would have to pay. But definitely think about offering something like that, and just play around with it and see what happens. I guarantee you'll be pleasantly surprised with what comes of it.
Yeah, and I mean, this is a good transition. I think this will be our last little topic that we'll hit on before we call it quits for this episode. But that transitions nicely into the topic of split testing. So split testing is where you have, let's say, the same sales page or the same something. You can have any sort of page that has some sort of what we call a call to action. Whether that call to action is give me your email address, or sign up for my product or buy my product or sign up for my trial, whatever the call to action is. But you can have two different pages, two pages that are virtually identical, but have one difference between the two of them. And you can track which of those pages does better over time. So a good way to split test, if you're not sure if offering a guarantee it would be beneficial or not, you can split test it. So you can say, all right, I'm going to have one page that has my sales and everything's whatever, but there's no guarantee. And then I'm going to have the same page with all the same information, except on this one I'm going to offer the guarantee. And I'm just going to see how many people out of 1,000 or 2,000. You really need to get up into the 1,000 or 2,000 visits mark before you can really start to be fairly certain that it is working. So don't just say, okay, 100 people visited and I've made my decision based on that. That's not good. You need to have some statistical significance. But 2,000 people visited page A, 2,000 people visited page B, and out of those two, I had X number of sales in page A and X number of sales in page B, and then you can see for yourself with empirical proof of which one is working and which one is not, and then you can go forward based on that information. So that is a really good common technique that we use. Is all about split testing. I don't know. Is there more I could say about the topic of split testing?
Again, another topic that we could
okay, go for it.
Spend tons of time on, but I think you nailed that. I think you nailed it there with just basically. I think you should always be split testing. Always test something, whether it's headlines in emails, headlines on your page, pictures on your page. Constantly, every week, every month, whatever it is, change something up and see how it compares to last week's or month's numbers.
Absolutely.
And you keep doing that, and you're going to get better and better.
And that's something I never did. I never did testing. I never did split testing for the first, year and a half of me being selling stuff online. So, and I really do feel like that was a mistake. Just like I never focused on generating my email list, I also felt like my email list wasn't doing much for me until I finally found a way to convert the people on my email list into sales. And then as soon as I figured out the way to do that, I was like, oh my God, I've wasted a year and a half and not focusing on building that list up. It could have been so much bigger and I could be making so much more money. So just because you're building an email list and it's not working for you yet doesn't mean that it won't work for you in the future. And that all came from testing different offers, from testing different ways to sell stuff, and from testing different, like you said, headlines or what have you. Always be testing. Okay, that's kind of like the ABCs, always be closing. Only it's ABTs, always be testing. So
there you go.
Yeah, that's good stuff. All right, man. So that's good. Do you feel like there's anything that we left out there that we should maybe touch on before we finish, or is that long enough?
You know what? If not, we're definitely going to hit it on another podcast.
On the next
we got a
50
ton of great stuff.
Yeah.
And, like you said in the beginning, Trevor, we're just giving them basically the 30,000-foot view right now. There's tons of stuff that we're going to dive in a lot deeper. We just want you to get the bigger picture, and if one of these things kind of sticks out to you as something you want to explore more on your own, go for it. And for everyone else, hang on for the next episode, I guess.
Yeah, man. And don't forget, guys, you can always go, and we need the subscription. So go to the Coders, or just coderstartup.com/iTunes. You can go there. Should bring up and launch the iTunes application on your desktop, and you can click on the subscribe link, which will be in the top left-hand corner. Because every time we get a subscription, that bumps us up in iTunes' eyes and gets us shown to more people who happen to be searching for the topic of business, marketing, and entrepreneurship. So by all means, give us the subscribe, and also if you're there and you want to, give us a review and a rating. If you leave, I think it will do if we leave a 5-star review. We can talk about the 5 stars that come in. Maybe we'll do that in the future. Who knows?
Yeah, let's do that.
But yeah, go for it. We want to hear from you. We want to know your feedback. We want to know what we're doing right and what we're doing wrong, and that way we can all move forward from there. So cool.
Absolutely.
So thank you so much, Carter, for joining. And
Hey, one time as always.
yeah, man, I'll catch you in the next episode.
All right, sounds good.
Peace.